Good morning and welcome inside the Spotlight Omaha podcast, where we take you around the city of Omaha, introduce you to local business owners, influential figures, and people who are making an impact on our community. We are brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing. Pixel Fire Marketing is a locally owned marketing firm that specializes in website design, creating social media ads, and engaging your brand online. If your business can benefit from any of that, check out pixelfiremarketing.com for more details today. Joining me inside the Pyramid Contractor Studios, Kim Kavulak. Thanks for being here, Kim. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me today.
You guys own Nebraska Brewing Company. Can you give us a little bit of an insight on what all you guys do at the brewery and how it's benefiting the community?
Yeah, we do. We do a whole lot at the brewery. We've been around for 17 years. We are going on our 17th year. And in that time, we have not only learned how to make really good beer and help build the beer community in Omaha, but over time, we've learned to be a better community partner, and we support a lot of veterans causes. So that's kind of where a lot of our philanthropy lies these days.
Yeah, I want to talk about the concept of the beer community, because I like, as somebody that's worked in the bar industry for as long as I did previous life. I don't ever, it never really felt like there was a sense of community around beer or craft beers or things like that. So recently, like maybe the last 10 to 15 years, is that kind of something you guys have seen as well?
Yeah, and it was our goal when we opened in 2007 was to help take people on that beer journey with us. We had started brewing. My husband was a home brewer, started brewing in 1992, and a lot of kids that are probably listening to this weren't even alive then.
Sure.
So in our previous lives, and over time in our corporate lives, things waxed and waned, and the hobby got stronger or weaker, just depending on what our lives were. And in the early 2000s, we thought, gosh, we really make good beer, and craft beer is kind of cool, and we think we could do this for a living, you know? So my husband quit his job, and we opened the
Which you were supportive from day one, right?
Well, you know, actually, yeah. I mean,
really? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. As the story goes, like that was always the plan. But one day we were at lunch, and he said, gosh, if we don't do this full time 100%, we can't pull it off right. And I said, yeah, you're right. And he literally pulled out his phone and resigned from his job that day. It was a little bit earlier than I expected, but
sure,
you know, you take the leap and you got to go to work to make it work. So
one thing we always talk about in this room with everybody that comes in here is the fear aspect. And when you have 3 children and you guys have two,
they were littles then,
and you have 2 stable incomes, and your husband goes, "I'm going to quit today."
Yeah.
There's a lot of those stories out there, because I think there's always a reason not to do something.
Absolutely.
Right? What did that conversation sound like? Can you give us a little bit of an insight of what, like, obviously it was probably a little more than just, hey, we're at lunch one day, this appetizer's great, I'm going to quit.
Well, it's funny. I mean, that was really the culmination. We had talked, and we had spent a lot of time building our business plan and really investing in what we thought we believed in ourselves that we could do. So that literal moment was just, if we don't do this 100%, we can't do it. And he quit that day. And it was just right then. It was like, rip the Band-Aid off, jump off the bridge, do all the things. And we always knew, or thought in the back of our minds, we know we're gonna be okay. But if we're not, we can always go back and do something different.
Sure.
But see, we never wanted to look back and think, gosh, what if we would have done that and we didn't? Mm-hmm. We would have said, gosh, we tried it and we gave it our all, and maybe we just, you know, we could have done it better. But so we just jumped off the bridge.
The brewery is located on 108th right off Harrison.
108th and Harrison.
Yeah. Has that always been the location of the brewery?
It was our second location. Our first location was in Shadow Lake.
Okay.
And we were part of the very, very beginning of Shadow Lake. And that's really when we started to build the beer community, because it did not exist in 2007.
Yeah.
So one of our goals was to bring people on this beer journey with us. We invented and created Great Nebraska Beer Fest. We ran that for 10 years. COVID was sort of the jumping off point where, like, maybe we don't do that anymore. Beer Fest had become a different thing, but it did what we wanted to do, and it brought people in our communities, and that's Omaha, Lincoln, and across the state, and made them aware that craft beer could be really good. It wasn't all this beer that you don't like and beer that your grandparents didn't like or whatever. Sure. There's a lot for everybody, and we taught people about all of those aspects.
Yeah, and that's an interesting, because if you look at the brands you guys have something for everyone. And,
absolutely.
And I want to get into that in a minute, but how do you navigate, because at the end of the day, it's all about making money, right? And because you got to be able to make more beer to provide the community, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. How do you navigate, hey, some people like IPA, some people like ale, some people like stouts, some people like sours, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And make sure you have enough in stock, because you guys make the beer yourself.
Absolutely.
To make sure that you're meeting the needs of the community that you serve.
Yeah, and over, I'm going to call it 2 decades, which sounds like a really long time when I say it like that. But, you know, over the course of 2 decades, it's really changed. And you have to be watching. And my husband does a lot of that research and follows the trends and what's coming around again. And it's interesting because IPAs they've ruled the market for so many years.
And that's not the case now.
It is. It's becoming a little less, positive. Lagers are coming back around. The lighter beers. We have a lot of really, light lagers in our lineup. We have Hefeweizens. We have malty beers. We have hoppy beers. There's a little bit for everybody. So it's really understanding. We have a lot of flexibility because we have 40 tap handles, so we can do a lot to please a lot of people. Not everybody has that. So the breweries who maybe have fewer tap handles to sell through, they have to be a little more selective about what they're going to do. But we get the flexibility of doing a lot.
Talk to me about the 40 handle situation, because I think for anybody that isn't in the industry may think that's a lot. Is that the ideal number for where you guys want to be?
It wasn't when we opened this facility. So again, this was our second facility. We had this facility in Shadow Lake. We opened in 2007. We had it until 2019, at which point we decided maybe the brew pub wasn't really our whole. It was great for us. We were really proud to have run that place for 13 years and to have run a restaurant and done all the cool things. And it helped us be who we are. At that point, we were like, let's follow our true passion, which was the beer. And we already had the second location, which we opened in 2014. That was opened with 24 handles. And we thought that was going to be plenty.
That's a lot. Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
But then as people, as we started really brewing, and we have a great brewing team and all these great ideas and all these styles and beers, and it allows us to brew in small batch. So we can do a lot of fun stuff and really let our team exercise their creativity.
Yeah.
So somehow we ended up adding more handles, and we're at 40. So it works for us.
I can't help but notice two different things there. You talked about your team, you talked about the brewing process, and you lit up and you smiled during both. Why is your team so important to the process of what you guys do?
Gosh, I can't imagine doing this without the team we have. And we are a very small but mighty team.
Sure.
We have 3 kids. 2 of them work for us. Our daughter's the one that got away. She works for OPPD. So she's got,
How many times have you thought about firing Connor?
Just kidding, Connor.
No. But that's awesome, because a lot of the questions that we ask people in here is how much do your kids know and appreciate what you do? I mean, they have to.
They work with us on a
payroll.
daily. They work with us on a daily basis, and they've grown up. They were 12 and 14. The boys were when we opened in 2007.
Yeah.
So they have literally grown up and worked in this business since they were old enough to have a job, and they've done everything from busboy to now Dylan runs our facilities and warehouse and shipping. Connor does our social media marketing and some sales.
Yeah.
So they're touching all aspects. And as we get a little more, I say this very hesitantly because I don't ever see us leaving anytime soon.
Sure.
But they're understanding what it might take to run the business at some point.
After you guys make your $1 billion and retire.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to ask about the restaurant piece, because I think it's really bold to kind of cut that part out of a bar industry, because hospitality kind of goes hand in hand in most places, but you guys have chosen to just stick with what you're passionate about. Why was it such a big deal to take the focus off the culinary side of things and make sure all the emphasis was on the brewing portion?
Well, as many people probably know, restaurants are hard. We were never afraid of hard work, but restaurants are just really hard. And it was
hard to be
a lot
consistent.
And people are fickle, and there's so many restaurants in Omaha and so many good things to do. And we were just reevaluating just kind of where in our life cycle as a company we were and who we wanted to be, which we had done several times over the course of that first 15 years. And we just decided our first love was really the beer, and let's focus on that. And our team, we've talked about team, our brewing team, our lead brewer, Tyson Arp, has been with us. I say this all the time, since literally before we opened. He was changing careers. He actually worked for us part-time for free in the very beginning because he was trying to figure out what he wanted to do. Right. And we quickly learned that we wanted him on our team, and he enjoyed what we were doing. And he has been our lead brewer for essentially all 17 years. And our second brewer in command, he's been with us for, Tony, don't kill me, I think almost 6 years.
Sure.
So having that consistency and that teamwork and that family environment is huge for us.
It feels like the aging process is as old as time, right? Yeah. And brewing is brewing. How much, and that's from the outside looking in, how much has the industry changed over the last 17 years, in your opinion, if at all?
Oh, gosh, it's nuts how much it's changed.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I think, when we started, we didn't see the younger generations really getting into craft beer. Now we see them. That's exactly what they're doing. They're not afraid to spend a little extra money on what we call non-fizzy yellow beer.
Sure.
They're willing to spend money on what they like and what they want. That's a huge change because that demographic.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Take that, Budweiser.
Yeah. That demographic really is learning, that they don't have to just drink the beer that their grandparents drank. No disrespect to hams or when anything like
old
that.
Style.
But old style, whatever it was their grandparents
Milwaukee,
drank.
you suck.
Yeah. But that's been a big deal, and it's just waxed and waned over time. Honestly, with just the beer styles. and the way that it's cycled through the industry.
Is that the fun part for you, is to be able to kind of keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on, adapt and change, and not do the same thing every day?
It is a little bit. And 4 years ago, we bought a second pilot brewing system, which we had not had since we moved to the big facility. And for me, that was fun because we get to sit with our brewing team and our sales team and say, what do we want to do that's
Be creative.
fun? What do you guys want to do? What's in your war horse, in your mind, that you want to go to work and just be like, this sounds fun. Let's do this. I still want to do a mint julep beer, Tyson, and they're telling me no, but I really want to do one.
Okay, why?
I don't know, just for fun.
Sure. We're catching up with Kip Kavulak of Nebraska Brewing Company here on the Spotlight Omaha podcast, brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing inside the Pyramid Contractors studio. I want to talk about Nebraska and Omaha for a second. Obviously, the state is in the name of the company.
Yep.
When you look down the list of beers you guys provide and the drinks you guys provide, there's a nod to the Omaha Storm Chasers. There's a nod to parts of the city. Why is it such a big deal for you to not only be able to brew beer in Nebraska, but be able to sell it in Nebraska as well?
Oh, well, I mean, you always want to sell to your own backyard. Everybody likes their neighbor to like what they like, and the community to appreciate what we're doing. We've partnered with the Omaha Storm Chasers. That's huge for us. Our Cardinal Pale Ale, which is we call it the beer that built the brewery. There's a great story. I have lots of them. But that is actually a nod to the Omaha Cardinals, which was a minor league baseball team in the 50s, 60s?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
And my husband's grandparents owned a bar called the Cardinal Bar in South Omaha. That beer is named after not only the team, but the bar. Well, more the bar, because that's what they owned, and that's where that kind of came from. So we have lots of stories and lots of connections to different parts of the city because we were both born and raised here.
47 through 59.
There we go.
It was when the
Fact
Omaha
check.
Cardinals were here. We talk about business in the room, and the one thing I think has maybe surprised me the most about this podcast is when we talk about business, I think the Hollywood and society would tell us it's cutthroat and that, it's dog eat dog and everybody's out for themselves. You guys allow other brewers to come in and use the facility. Why is that such a big deal for you?
Well, we call it co-opetition. I mean, there's always a little bit of competition because you want to, like you said earlier, it's all about, it's making money and having our beer on the shelves or on the taps or wherever you go around the city. But we also want to, rising tides float all boats. And we want this industry, because the craft beer industry is such a small part of the overall
good point
beer and spirits industry. Everything that we can do to help each other benefits all of us.
Is there any part of it that's fun to collaborate, like maybe have a conversation with whoever comes in and how you can work together, things like that?
It's fun, and it's fun to talk about how far we've come as a state in the growth of craft beer. When we opened in 2007, we think we were about the 5th brewery in the state. I think we might be upwards of around 90 breweries across the state now. We've had several breweries open, brewers that have worked for us and gone out and opened their own breweries. So those are all fun things to see and know that we've been a part of and contributed to.
It's not even just beer. You guys do seltzers as well, and that's a trend. We talked about trends a little bit ago. That's something that's obviously taken off over the past couple of years. Why seltzers?
Seltzers, they're kind of a fun way for people who come in. Not everybody likes beer.
Sure.
It's true. But, it was a great way for us to touch what was going on in the world, in the marketplace, and say, if this gentleman wants to come in because his wife likes beer or vice versa, then we've got another option for them too.
Yeah. Is that all processed in-house as well?
It is, yes. Our brewers really went to work, and they got probably what I would say one of the best local recipes for seltzers that we have.
What's the biggest difference between making a seltzer and making a beer?
Probably the fermentation time. I mean, it's a completely different process, but yeah, it takes a lot less time for a seltzer than it does.
You mentioned earlier that you guys do a great job of giving back to the military community and veterans, and some of our friends from the 50-mile march are making sure they stop by and give the video a like, so we appreciate everybody for doing that. Why is serving the veteran community such a staple of what you guys do at Nebraska Brewing Company?
Well, my husband is a Marine.
Okay. I did not know that.
Yes, he was a 3rd-generation Marine, and so it just kind of started out by just honoring the Marines on the Marine Corps birthday every year, and then when we were in Shadow Lake, we got a lot of following from the base, the Air Force folks. And so we just really started to embrace that. And pretty soon we found ourselves supporting the Toys for Tots campaign, which we are a big part of every year. We have the car show kickoff for their campaign this weekend at Nebraska Brewing. And then about 4 years ago, I became involved with the 50-mile march.
Okay.
Jay Morales sat at my table, and after about 2 minutes, I said,
Hard not to fall in love with that guy.
Oh my gosh, he's about the most contagious, infectious person you ever meet.
This is episode number 180, and he's still the only person to make me cry. So
yeah, he sat at our table and told me what he was doing, and that was year 2 for him. And I said, I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm going to march. This was last year was my 4th year marching. I'm a member of the board.
Do your feet still hurt?
Nah.
No. Okay.
I was at work. I was at work the next day.
Sure.
But yeah, it's so we find ourselves. There are several other now veteran organizations that have approached us, and we're selective about it. But we're always willing to support somebody who meets what our goals and what our vision is.
You mentioned the Toys for Tots car show this weekend. What exactly could people expect when they come up to the brewery this weekend? What should they bring with them?
Yeah, bring them. You can either bring $10 or an unwrapped toy for the kickoff drive, and just see some really cool cars and have a great day. The weather is going to be really hot, so dress as such, and we'll have some great cold beer, and we'll have the Husker game on at 3:00.
So I was in the brewery for the Nebraska Podcast Awards last year. Yeah. I didn't win any. It's fine.
Sorry about that. You're not bitter, are you?
It was very warm back there because it was also in August. Because Connor and Kyle, those guys are apparently very smart and don't realize it gets hot in August. But how much in Nebraska, we obviously have the extremes on both sides. It gets very cold, gets very warm. How does that affect how you guys are able to brew, or does it in any way?
It really doesn't. So we have the fermentation tanks and the bright tanks, which we package out of. Those are all controlled by, they're temperature controlled. It's the only part in the brewery that's temperature controlled. So sorry about the heat.
No, it was fine. It was a great time. What does growth look like if we're talking about getting to that $1 billion and you buying your yacht and being able to pass it down to the kids? When we talk about growing the brewery to be as successful as it possibly can, is it there? Is there somewhere to grow? Is there things that you guys haven't done that you'd like to? What does that look like?
Yeah, I think it's again, that's changed a lot over time. And when we opened in 2007, we thought the trajectory was going to be very different. The good news is that there are so many breweries now. There are a lot of breweries in a lot of small towns that didn't exist before. Mm-hmm. So the pie is still the same, but there's a little less piece of the pie for everybody.
Just a few more cuts.
Yeah. And so adjusting to that over time, it's just really just coming back and understanding who our key demographic is, who are the people we're trying to take our business to, and understanding where we want to be. And it's just adjusting that growth vision.
Speaking of pie charts, how much would you say of your business is done outside of the brewery? Do you guys distribute it all? And how does that kind of work locally? Yeah,
we distribute. At our peak, we were in 30-some states.
Wow.
Yeah, now there are something like, 10,000 breweries in the country or something. So, when we were distributing in New York and Pennsylvania and all those places, now there's so many local breweries, it's really hard to compete in states where they've got great beer.
It's more expensive to have it shipped.
It's more expensive, and everybody wants to drink. Oh, hey, my brother Bob's got a brewery on, 6th and Walnut. You should go over there, that kind of thing.
Shout out to Bob on 6th and Walnut.
Right, right. So, those are the things that you want, that you love to see supporting small local businesses.
And you guys aren't trying to take that from anybody.
Absolutely not. Yeah. So we're, again, refocusing. So we kind of are in the 5-state area around us. Omaha is obviously our biggest target, state of Nebraska in general. Texas is actually our second biggest market.
Wow.
So we've continued.
Why do you think that is?
It's really interesting. I don't know that I can explain it.
Okay.
We have distributed with them for probably, I'm going to call it 10 years. Mm-hmm. And they're just one of the ones that hung on even after COVID. Our beer has just done really well there.
The pandemic's an interesting standpoint because obviously not only you guys have the brewery, you have the bar connected to it where people can come in, and that obviously wasn't available for time. Was there anything that happened during the pandemic that you guys took and learned from and were able to kind of make it portable till now and post the pandemic that's benefited the business at all?
Yeah, we just got real creative. We started doing some ready to drink things that are in cans that people can still come and buy.
Sure.
We just started to really focus on our local customer base.
Yeah.
And see what we could do there to create that hook, I guess, for people to always want to come back.
If somebody is looking to get into craft brewing and
don't do it. Don't do it.
Other than don't do it, what piece of advice would you give to someone that maybe is just thinking about doing something maybe in their garage starting out?
Yeah, for sure. And I think, the thing over time is like, when we started, we knew we had really good beer. You got to have good beer. You got to have good marketing. You got to have a good story. You got to have just this whole package. And really be willing to know, don't be afraid of hard work, because it's a lot of hard work and it's a lot of long hours, and it's sometimes a lot of
It's not
disappointment.
just standing around drinking.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it was funny. We were doing some work over the weekend. We had a huge event last weekend, and we're like, yeah, we just stand around and drink all day. And we were just killing ourselves trying to get this event done for another veteran organization, actually.
Running for every square inch of the brewery.
Yeah, for sure. So, it's just, don't expect it to all be just sunshine and rainbows and standing around drinking, because there's a lot of hard work. There's disappointment, but there's also great joys. And
Sure.
and we built some great relationships over time, and people that we were once customers or guests, they're our family now.
Yeah, you've mentioned it a couple times. You guys do a ton of events at the brewery, and anybody that hasn't been out to your guys' place, it's beautiful on the inside. Why is it such a big deal to be able to host these events and give back to the community?
Again, it's just giving people a forum to do whatever it is their event is, whatever they're trying to take back to the community or get out of the community. We have the space to help them do that.
And we're catching up with Kim Kavulak here on the Spotlight Omaha podcast, brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing inside the Pyramid Contractor Studio. She owns Nebraska Brewing Company. I want to talk about you for a second. You've been a wife of a veteran. You've been a mother of 3. You own a business. You run a brewery. You help put on events. You do 50-mile marches. How are you able to divide your time and do it successfully?
Gosh, I don't know that I do it very successfully.
Sure.
No, I'm finding the things that mean a lot more to me over time. And I would honestly say the first 10 years was really devoted to like getting the business solid, making sure that we are doing all the things to be good. So people know who Nebraska Brewing Company is, why we're here, what we're doing, who we are, all those kinds of things.
Is there any failure you could circle and say we learned the most from this?
Oh gosh, probably. Let me think.
Because every business has one, right? I mean, you don't become successful without a couple of losses in the loss column.
Yeah, we probably have. I always say we've made a lot of mistakes along the way.
Everybody does.
Hopefully we haven't made the same mistakes twice.
Sure.
I think the biggest learning things for us, we opened in 2007. Probably about 3 minutes later, the recession started.
Naturally.
Yeah. And so again,
You can hear the bubble pop.
Yeah, exactly. And it was one of those things, though. I'm glad we did it then. And I tell this all the time. If we hadn't done it then, we might never have done it. It might have been, gosh, we need to keep our really good jobs and our security because what if this happens again? We didn't have that luxury. It's like, what do we do to stay alive? How do we get creative? How do we learn? I had not intended to actually run the business, but we had to really dig in.
Have somebody run the business.
We had to dig in deep and look at, everywhere we could make cuts. And that meant us working in the business day to day. So that was a huge learning curve for us. And then COVID, of course, just taught us so much about how we could be creative. And we are proud to say we kept all of our team during COVID. We were able to stay creative and stay afloat enough to make sure that everybody was still taken care of. So
what did you do before the brewery?
I stayed at home for 7 years, but before that I was an IT project manager.
Okay.
So
let's take
I have a little bit of that.
Let's take that off the table. If you weren't doing the brewery and if you weren't an IT project manager, what would you be doing?
Gosh, I don't even know. Probably something in a veteran not-for-profit aspect. I really am interested in that.
How much do you enjoy the sales portion of what you guys do?
It's fun.
Yeah, because
it's a lot of fun.
Every time you talked about it, you kind of smiled a little bit and lit up. Were you surprised by that? Because I think IT project manager and sales are about as far away from each other as they possibly can be.
I'm not terribly shy. I don't know if you can get that.
By the way, that's what I did before I got into radio, so I can appreciate that.
But building relationships is a lot of fun. And as a project manager, that's what I got to do a lot. I had a great team, and I built a relationship with my team, and I knew I could always go to them and say, I need this,
Sure.
can you tell me this? So in that respect, it was just building relationships. And sales is a lot of building relationships. It's a lot of what we do. My favorite time, and I say this all the time too, my favorite time in the brewery is when I get to be behind the bar.
Yeah.
I don't get to do it
because you're interacting with people.
Yeah, and it's fun. We get to talk about what we do, and people will come in and they don't necessarily know if they're new or they from traveling.
They don't know who you are.
They don't know who I am, and they'll be like, "You know a lot." I'm like, "Well, yeah, thanks." But I've
worked here a while.
Yeah, that's the fun part of doing that, and seeing all the people that have come on this journey with us all this time is a lot of fun.
We talked about beers. We talked about seltzers. There's not hard liquor at the.
We don't. We have not gotten into spirits.
Is that something that you guys have kicked around?
We talked about it, and we just haven't done it. We just, again, it's not our passion, so let's stick to the things that we know and love.
Yeah. Is there anything that you guys haven't done at the brewery that you, other than the Mint Jubilee beer, is there anything that you maybe want to do?
No, I mean, we continue to do our events. I mean, we host weddings and, weddings.
Is that surprising to you?
More and more, it's people think it's cool, and
it's a beautiful venue.
It is. It's fun, and what I'm again, different generation. I'm finding they're a little less traditional.
Sure.
With with what they want for their wedding, and what their partners want.
And it feels like what's old is becoming new again. You guys kind of have that rustic look to the place, and I think it's kind of a perfect backdrop for a themed wedding like that, where they want the rustic look to it.
Yeah, and I think again, we're not that corporate, hall venue where people go in and they pay a crazy amount of money and they have to do all these things on a checklist, and somebody tells them what they can and can't do. We work with folks a lot, and it's just it all goes back to creating those relationships.
What has been the most difficult part about that part of the business, the venue part? Because obviously brewing is brewing, and you guys have been doing that so long, you're good at it. What has been the biggest learning curve for you guys in being a place where you host events at?
Oh gosh, for me, it's just doing it. And it's everyone is different, and you always want to make sure that whatever event somebody's having, that it's the best, because it's whether it's their wedding rehearsal dinner or their kid's first birthday, which we do, or
really,
yeah, I know we do.
Nothing says a first birthday like a craft beer,
right? Baby showers. I'm like, that seems so mean to me. She can't even drink. What the heck?
Right.
But we just want to make it the best for whatever the occasion is, because it's important to whoever. Obviously,
the website's scrolling across the bottom of the screen right now, nebraskabrewingco.com. If somebody wants to book the venue and use it for a bachelor party, a birthday party, whatever, what does that process look like?
They can just hit us up, info@nebraskabrewingco.com, and just send us your information. Judy, who is my mom, who is 80,
shout out to Judy.
Shout out to Judy, who is 83 and still works for us part-time, and she coordinates a lot of the details for our group reservations. So
do you have the ability, because you're in it every day, you probably do, but it's probably hard. Is it hard for you to step back and say, hey, my kids help us run this business. I got to work with my husband every day. My mom books the venue for us. Is it difficult for you to have that appreciation for that in the moment, or is that something you can appreciate in real time?
It's funny. By and large, you just take it for granted a little bit every day.
Sure.
And I tell the story when I do tours and stuff. And sometimes it's kind of like having kids, and you don't see your kids grow every day. But boy, you go look at a picture of them when they graduated high school, or when you think, wow, we did this. And sometimes we just look over our shoulder and see all the medals that we've won, or all the accomplishments that we have, and all the relationships that we've built, and the team that we built, and the family that we have made. And you think, wow, this is what we've done. This is the real accomplishment.
Listen, it's one of those things that you guys have constant changes and growing every single day. It's really cool to see the way you guys have morphed from moving from the outdoor mall into where you guys are now. You guys don't have the second location anymore, though, correct?
We don't. It's just the one.
Is that something that you guys have ever kicked around again and maybe doing more than one, or are you guys just perfectly happy with where you are?
I've learned to never say never. If the right opportunity at the right time, with all the right parameters and everything is like the stars aligned, hell yeah, we might. But right now, we're real happy where we're at, doing what we're doing with the team that we have.
Over 225 5-star reviews on Google. You guys don't open until 2 o'clock. Is there a reason 2 o'clock?
Well, during the day, most people don't daydream.
Most people want to be sober? Yeah.
Most people don't daydream during the week.
Yeah.
I've been known to do it, but no. It's a reasonable time to start happy hour. Sometimes people are getting off shift 2 or 3 o'clock, so it makes sense.
6950 South 108th Street in La Vista. Come out and bring a toy or a $10 donation for Toys for Tots this weekend. Enjoy the event. Grab yourself some great craft beer. We're kind of in that point where we shut it down for the day. Is there anything we haven't mentioned about Nebraska Brewing Company that we should?
No, I don't think so. Shout out to again all my team that has helped us get where we are today, and to our customer base who literally built us. We stand on their shoulders going forward.
Is Connor going to do his wedding reception at the bar?
He is not, but we'll probably do their wedding rehearsal dinner, I think. We'll find out today. We have a meeting today, so we'll find out.
I had this podcast on the wrong day. Kim, this was great. I greatly appreciate it. Thanks for your time today. Thanks for joining us here on the Spotlight Omaha podcast, brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing inside the Pyramid Contractor Studio. We'll be back tomorrow talking with Nolan from Claire Senior Advisors about, for anybody that you may know, taking the next step in their life in retirement and what that looks like for them post-retirement. Join us tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Kim, thanks for being here. We'll see everybody tomorrow at 11 a.m.
Thanks.